The last train left the station at precisely 11:58 p.m. There were no delays, no reported issues, just a single, chilling problem. A man got on, and he never got off. This train ran the exact same route every single night. 6 stations, a 32-minute journey from start to finish. It never deviated. The drivers rotated, the security staff changed, but the route itself remained a constant, reliable part of the city's late-night pulse. That particular night, the train was nearly deserted. A young couple, probably heading home after a late movie. One man asleep in a corner seat, oblivious to the world. And then there was him, a tall man, standing near the door of the last carriage. He was unnervingly still. He didn't move when the doors hissed shut. He didn't shift his weight when the train lurched forward and accelerated into the tunnel. He just stood there, a rigid silhouette facing the front of the train. At the first station, the doors slid open with a familiar chime. A few passengers stepped out onto the platform, their footsteps echoing in the quiet station. The man remained. The conductor, doing his final checks, noticed something peculiar. The man didn't seem to blink. He didn't sway with the gentle rocking of the train. He didn't adjust his stance or so much as glance around. The conductor's mind ran through the usual possibilities. Drugs, extreme exhaustion, maybe a mental health crisis. You learn to mind your own business on late-night trains. So the doors close, and the train moved on, plunging back into the darkness. It was after the 3rd stop that the night took a turn. A security officer monitoring the live CCTV feeds noticed something that made his blood run cold. The cameras showed the man still standing in the last carriage. Same unmoving posture, same fixed position. But the reflection in the window behind him was wrong. It should have shown the back of his head, the interior of the carriage. Instead, the window showed nothing, just the dark tunnel rushing past. It was like he cast no reflection at all. The officer zoomed the camera in, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. And that's when he saw it, the man's feet. They weren't quite touching the floor. He was hovering, maybe half an inch above the ground. The driver was immediately notified over the radio. Protocol was clear. Stop the train at the next station and investigate. But before the driver could even begin to apply the brakes, the emergency alarm blared through the train's speaker system. A piercing, frantic sound. The alert was coming from the last carriage. Instinct took over. The driver slammed on the emergency brakes. The train screeched, metal grinding against metal, throwing sparks into the tunnel before it shuddered to a violent halt between stations. The lights flickered, plunging the carriages into a strobe-like chaos. The conductor, heart pounding, grabbed his flashlight and ran back towards the source of the alarm. He burst into the last carriage. It was completely empty. The couple was gone. The sleeping man was gone. And the tall, unmoving figure was gone. There was just one thing left behind. On the wall of the carriage, suspended halfway between the floor and the ceiling, was a single, damp footprint. Police boarded the train as soon as it was pulled into the next station. They cordoned off the carriage, dusted for prints, and immediately started reviewing the security footage. They checked every ticket scanned for that journey. One ticket didn't make sense. The barcode came back as invalid. The time stamp was even more impossible. It showed a boarding time of 12:03 a.m. The train had left its first station at 11:58 p.m. How could someone board 5 minutes after the train had already left? They isolated a still image of the man's face from the CCTV and ran it through every database they had. Facial recognition returned a single, terrifying match. The system identified him as a man who had been declared dead 9 years earlier. He was killed in a tunnel collapse during construction on this exact same railway lines. This discovery sent a shockwave through the Transport Authority. They started digging, pulling old security tapes from the archives, late-night trains, always the same route, always the last carriage, and there he was, the same man, appearing every few months like a phantom on a schedule. He was never seen sitting, never seen talking, and never seen getting off. They found a disturbing pattern. Every single time this spectral figure appeared on the footage, something terrible followed. A catastrophic derailment 2 days later. A passenger suicide on the platform the next morning. A maintenance worker crushed during a routine inspection. An accident, a tragedy, always within 48 hours of his appearance. The authorities had to act. They tried to stop it. They cancelled all late-night passenger services on the route indefinitely. They shut the line down completely after midnight, citing extended maintenance. For 3 weeks, the line was silent. Then, one night, a maintenance train had to run the route. No passengers, just a small crew on board to test the signaling. The cameras were still rolling, and he was there again, standing in the empty rear car, a silent, unmoving sentinel. But this time was different. This time, as the train rattled through the dark tunnel, he slowly turned his head. The entire CCTV feed cut out. For 17 seconds, there was nothing but static. When the picture flickered back on, the train was empty. The entire crew had vanished. No bodies, no signs of a struggle. The train, now a ghost ship on rails, coasted into the next station completely on its own. The doors opened automatically to an empty platform. The lights inside were still on, and there, on the fogged-up glass of the windows, were handprints, dozens of them, pressed against the glass from the outside. Today, the city's Transport Authority operates under a strict, unofficial rule. It's not in any public handbook, but every driver knows it. Never, ever use the last carriage after midnight. And the drivers are told something else, a simple, chilling instruction. If you are on the late shift and you see a tall man standing perfectly still in the last car, do not slow down. Do not stop for any reason. And whatever you do, never, ever let him turn around. Because there's something else on that lost footage. Something they don't tell the public. In the final frames before the camera glitches and cuts to static, just for a split second, you can see his face as he turns, and it is locked in a silent, horrifying scream.